If you want the latest Snapdragon chipset performance without breaking the bank, you have two choices: the Vivo IQ13 and Redmi K80 Pro. Today, I will compare the camera, battery life, and gaming performance of these two phones. I am Mo, and I got both of these devices from Geekbench. I will put the link in the description. They are both $599 right now, and during this review, assume you can get them for the same price. The display of IQ13 is a tad larger than K80 Pro. They have a similar resolution of almost 1440 by 3200, but the body to display ratio is larger on IQ13. Both displays get bright enough under sunlight, and I had no problem with them. Redmi K80 Pro has a 12-bit display, which means it supports a larger color space compared to the 10-bit display of IQ13. Running YouTube HDR content, both looked great, and I could not find a difference between them. The Redmi is up to 120Hz and IQ is up to 144Hz. If you only look at the display and the frame, they are extremely similar, but the back of the device could not be more different. IQ camera housing is actually more similar to Xiaomi 15 Pro, and it is tucked nicely on the left side of the phone. The one I got is grey, since I would rather not have the Motorsport branding on the back. The Redmi I got has a subtle light blue marble color on the back, which I really like. The camera bump is smaller and more neatly fitted, so I often find myself having an easier time holding the K80 Pro. Also, it is nicer for gaming since my hand touches the camera bump less than on phones with a larger camera bump, like basically any other Chinese phone I tested this year. Considering they have a 6000 mAh battery, they are light. They are both around 212 grams. The Redmi K80 Pro's camera housing houses 3 cameras: an ultrawide, a wide, and a 60mm full-frame equivalent telephoto lens. It also contains an IR blaster. The IQ13 camera housing has 3 cameras, but the telephoto lens is only a 50mm full-frame equivalent. Although I like the classic 50mm look, having a longer range is usually better when there is only one telephoto lens on the camera. The IR blaster is also inside the camera housing. The phone's sensor sizes are similar on paper, so we should expect similar quality. But sometimes the quality can be quite different. The camera app on IQ13 is very similar to the Vivo X200 Pro, but some options are missing. Meanwhile, the camera app on Redmi is similar to what I got on Xiaomi 15, with toned down options. We will start with portrait photography with Daria. I'm gonna use dedicated portrait modes for some shots and normal modes for others to see the difference. Both did a decent job with this shot taken with a telephoto lens in normal mode. The Redmi K80 Pro added more contrast, and the shot on IQ has more magenta. I took the same shot, but this time it was in portrait mode, giving an artificial field depth and blurring the background. Despite not handling the sun's reflection well, both did a great job. Also, the Redmi handled the hair better. In this indoor shot, both the main lens and a beauty filter are used, and both are decent. Daria's face has more contrast on Redmi, but I would not say the picture quality is better on either of them. When taking a video of a subject, I prefer the video on IQ13, but I can't put a finger on why this is the case. I think the IQ lit Daria's face better, and that's why I prefer this footage over Redmi. For the ultrawide lens, both did create a sharp image. This is probably one of the fanciest McDonald's shops in the world in the center of Vienna. This picture also has a very similar quality to the ultrawide lens. The white balance is very different. The IQ has a lot of magenta in the shot, as seen on Albertina's wall. The picture on IQ has some noise, probably due to the higher ISO, which is around 800 compared to 250 from Redmi. When making a video with the main lens, the crop factor on Redmi is lower than on IQ13, so there is more in the frame. Apart from the shadows being more lifted on IQ, I could not find a quality difference between the two. The picture with the main lens are very similar, as you can see in this picture. Of course, there is a bit of a difference in processing. In this picture, if you look at the statue, you notice Redmi lifting the shadows more, making it brighter. Also, the opera house in the back is brighter, while the Vivo, there is more contrast to the scene, which I prefer. The indoor video quality on the main lens is very similar on both phones, and it is decent. It is not the best, but it is comparable to the iPhone 16 and Galaxy S24. The only problem is I found Redmi had trouble finding the focus and I started to do focus jump from one object to another. This is a common problem in low light situation with smaller sensor sizes. However, the picture I took was decent, considering the camera is not the primary focus of these phones. As I said, Redmi's telephoto zoom has more reach than IQOO 13's. Also, Redmi's sensor is a bit larger than IQOO, so we should expect better results. On daylight and with 2 times telephoto lens with IQOO 13 and 2.5 times telephoto lens with Redmi K80 Pro, we get a very similar result. And there is no surprises here. I like the color processing on both phones. It is not overly saturated, and the pictures have a nice contrast. If we zoom more a lot like here, 380mm, the result is way better on Redmi than IQOO. I kind of hoped IQOO would keep the DNA of the Vivo X200 Pro, but the result is rather disappointing. Here is another example with 750mm. The Redmi picture has much more details than IQOO 13, and the IQOO photo is too soft and unusable. IQOO has the same 3 modes on the Vivo X200 Pro: Vivid, Textured, and Natural. It doesn't call it Zeiss, but I'm almost certain it has the same color profile. I took this picture in Vivo's Natural mode, which, as you can see, made it look much more natural. They both have macro mode. For some reason, the telephoto macro mode is on the main lens on IQOO, but it is on the telephoto lens on Redmi. To test the camera during the night, we went to the Cars Plus Christmas market. With the main lens, the video quality is similar. Redmi had a warmer tone, and IQOO has a colder one. Also, the Redmi has a more visible green light reflection. They can both take great pictures with the main lens, even in the dark. They have slightly different color processing, but the details they picked are fairly similar. Regarding stabilization, for some reason, the Redmi is not doing a great job. I assume it is because of the crop of IQOO, which leads to better processing for digital stabilization of the footage. On the other hand, the telephoto lens on the Redmi K80 Pro works much better than the one on IQOO 13. Also, the shots I took were shaky on the IQOO and turned out blurry with the telephoto lens. There is also a visible lack of details on the IQOO compared to Redmi on the telephoto lens during the night. They are both alright for the selfie camera, but I prefer the one on IQOO 13 since it's more detailed and the skin tone is captured more naturally. Also, the Redmi only supports 1080 on the video mode. For performance, I rank Geekbench first. For the first test, I ran it on the normal mode and not performance mode on both phones. The Vivo IQOO 13 got a better score of 9500 compared to 8100 on Redmi. Then, I ran the same test, but this time in performance mode on both phones called Monster on IQOO. This time, Redmi got a slightly better score of 8600, while IQOO got a similar score as the last time. It does seem like the battery mode does not affect the score. Then, I ran the AnTuTu benchmark, which is very comprehensive compared to other benchmarks, since it includes many different tasks. In this test, the Redmi again got a lower score of 2.5 million compared to 2.7 million from IQOO 13. The CPU and GPU scores are higher on IQOO, but Redmi has a better RAM score. They both have a gaming mode, but IQOO 13 also offers a mode in which you can connect your charger, and the phone will get the power directly from the source. This is crucial for gaming since you can game without worrying about charging, hitting your phone, and ruining the battery longevity. Then I decided to play Genshin Impact for 20 minutes on max setting and 60 frames per second. Both phones had a room temperature of around 26 degrees Celsius, which was 79 degrees Fahrenheit when the test started. 10 minutes into the game, the K80 Pro was 2 degrees hotter than IQOO 13, and it seems that IQOO's thermal management was better. I played the game for another 10 minutes on the max setting and the same brightness. I did not experience any jittering or frame drop on IQOO 13, but the K80 Pro started to have visible jittering and frame drop. It also reached around 41 degrees Celsius or 105 Fahrenheit, which is 2 to 3 degrees hotter than IQOO 13. It seems a no-brainer that IQOO 13 has a better performance and thermals than K80 Pro, but the K80 Pro is also not a quitter. For battery life, they both have a 6000 mAh battery. I tested everything you saw so far in this video in a day and a half on max manual brightness, and by the end of the test, IQOO had 30% and Redmi had 27%. These results are amazing, considering I used the phones in 2 days with max manual brightness and heavy tasks like gaming and photography for hours. For software, they both run Android 15. The K18 Pro runs HyperOS and the IQOO I have runs OriginOS. They are very similar, and this is not a deciding factor in choosing one over the other. They have very minimal differences. Most notably, the default animation speed on IQOO is faster, which makes the phone feel snappier, but you can change those settings on Redmi too. Both phones have a charger, a case, and protective glass pre-installed. The only difference is that K80 Pro supports wireless charging, while IQOO does not. Both phones are very similar to each other, and they are direct competitors. The Redmi K80 Pro is a bit smaller and supports wireless charging. The IQOO 13 does not have wireless charging, but has better thermal and performance and can be used for gaming while being plugged into the charger, similar to Sony phones and gaming consoles. The K80 Pro has a better telephoto lens for the camera, but other than that, they are very similar. IQOO 13 offers more camera app options. If you want to spend a bit more, Vivo X200 Pro and OnePlus 13 are also better choices. I made a comparison of these two phones, which you can watch next. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Mo, and I will see you in the next one.